Barrick Gold Corporation agreed to form a joint venture in Venezuela, according to state television, as President Nicolas Maduro turns to mining as a way to boost one of the fastest shrinking economies in the world. The world's biggest producer of the precious metal was among several companies to sign letters of commitment for gold mining ventures during a ceremony held at the presidential palace in Caracas Friday. The government would take a 55% stake in the proposed Barrick venture, Maduro said. At the invitation of the government, we intend to review information pertaining to mining opportunities in the country, Sandy Lloyd, a spokesman for Toronto-based Barrick, wrote in an emailed response to questions. Without providing details, Maduro said investments from the ventures would amount to $5 billion. He's looking to mining as a way to boost the oil-dependent economy that's been pummeled by slumping energy prices after predecessor Hugo Chavez nationalized energy and mining assets to increase state control over the economy. Earlier this month, Gold Reserve Incorporated said it will get about $770 million as part of a settlement with Venezuela for the 2008 seizure of its Brices gold and copper project, in an arrangement that depends on the country securing financing. In that arrangement, Venezuela also agreed to buy the Spokane, Washington-based company's mining data for $240 million and enter into a jointly owned company for a 18,000-hectare claim including the Brices Cristinas deposit. Venezuela's worsening economic crisis, the shadow of hunger, desperation of crowds queuing for food and the spread of unrest are threatening the government of Nicolas Maduro. What is the story? Venezuela is suffering the worst economic crisis in its history. Ordinary people in the oil-rich country are regularly going without food. Three-quarter empty supermarkets are being ransacked by angry, hungry mobs. The government has declared a state of emergency. Food is now being transported under armed guard, and basic necessities are being rationed. People have to queue for hours and sometimes overnight on their assigned days to receive staples like rice and cooking oil. We are like a bomb. Food riots show Venezuela crisis has gone beyond politics. Read more by IMF figures. It has the world's worst negative growth rate, -8%, and the worst inflation rate, 482%. The unemployment rate is 17% but is expected to climb to near 30% in the coming few years. The shadow of hunger, the desperation of the crowds and the spread of unrest and criminality threaten the government of Nicolas Maduro, 3 years after he was bequeathed power by the dying revolutionary strongman, Hugo Chavez. The opposition has launched a drive to canvass signatures for a petition for him to step down. That will be a difficult task in the face of a state-run electoral system determined to thwart it, but the state may implode even if the recall referendum fails. How did such an oil-rich state collapse so catastrophically? The Maduro government has blamed the crisis on the U.S. and right-wing business owners who it accuses of cutting production to sabotage the economy, but Maduro has inherited the ruinous state-run system from Chavez, to which economists say he has added some damaging mistakes of his own. Chavez built his popularity on oil money and foreign debt, using both to fund consumption, while nationalizing more than 1,200 private companies deemed not to be functioning in the public interest. But in 2015 the oil price was cut in half and Venezuela's reckless public finances helped make it a high-risk debtor, cutting the country's access to international capital. The Maduro government has responded to the consequent hole in public finances by printing money, fueling inflation. It's estimated that the cost of basic groceries that would keep a family going through a week increased by more than 25% between March and April, and now costs 22 times the state minimum salary. The state has tried to ration basic foodstuffs and set their prices, but the consequences they have simply disappeared from the shops into the black market. The opposition says the direct distribution of food has been politicized by being channeled through local committees run by Maduro's United Socialist Party of Venezuela. According to Transparency International, Venezuela is the ninth most corrupt country in the world. Members of Maduro's family and immediate entourage have been implicated in drug smuggling, and hundreds of billions of dollars are believed to have been siphoned out of the economy. The crisis is likely to get even worse in the near future. The government has been running through the country's gold reserves to pay its international debt service and finance at least some basic imports, but those reserves are now dwindling, and Maduro will either have to default or stop importing food. Both options are potentially catastrophic. Will Maduro be brought down by the recall referendum? The opposition have put high hopes in a referendum, and launched a signature drive in April, but Venezuela's National Electoral Council (CNE) has imposed a set of high hurdles for a petition to pass before the choice can be presented to the general population. Roughly 1.3 million people signed a petition for a recall vote, far more than the 200,000 required by law, but 600,000 of the signatures have already been rejected by the CNE, and people have been queuing for hours to validate the rest of the signatures by having their fingerprints scanned. Even if they are found to have passed the required threshold of 1% of voters, that just allows them to go forward to a second petition, in which opponents would have to amass close to 4 million votes to trigger the recall vote. The Maduro camp argues the opposition have left the petition too late for a referendum this year, a claim his opponents vehemently contest. The issue of timing is critical. If Maduro is ousted after January 2017, his place can be passed to his vice president, keeping power in Socialist Party hands. Barrick Gold Corporation agreed to form a joint venture in Venezuela, according to state television. as President Nicolas Maduro turns to mining as a way to boost one of the fastest shrinking economies in the world. The world's biggest producer of the press said, "At the invitation of the government, we intend to review information pertaining to mining opportunities in the country." Sandy Lloyd, a spokesman for Toronto-based Barrick, wrote in an emailed response to questions. With without providing details, Maduro said investments from the ventures would amount to $5 billion. He's looking to mining as a way to boost the oil-dependent economy that's been pummeled by slumping energy prices after predecessor precious metal was among several companies to sign letters of commitment for gold mining ventures during a ceremony held at the presidential palace in Caracas Friday. The government would take a 55% stake in the proposed Barrick venture, Maduro